Welcome, everybody. I'm Laura Ribbons, fitness expert, but also just one that is so keen on grabbing whatever information I can get out there, health and wellness wise, that helps with all our pillars of health that we can then share with other people and hopefully help them take, number one, be aware of the information, but then take those steps and actually apply it to something that will benefit them and their health.
That's awesome. And I'm Dara Lee Simmons, and I am a wellness advocate. And I am super excited to be here. And I'm super excited for tonight's topic, which is why am I so exhausted? And really, what can we do about it? But if you ever feel like you're running on fumes and just, whew, how to get through the day, you're in the right place, right, Laura?
Yes. And we can all relate to all of this and not even know that it's happening to us. We are happy being busy doing a million things, and we have no idea how running at a certain speed, your body just needs to slow down. And usually we have too many things to do to slow down, quote unquote.
Yeah, and 70% of women over 40 say that they are fatigued on a daily basis. That's a pretty high number, ladies. That is. And most women are told that drink an extra cup of coffee or get a good night's sleep. And it's not always quite that simple. But we are going to share with you some of why all of this is happening, why you may be feeling exhausted, and really some simple tips of what you can do to turn that around in a pretty quick manner, right?
Yes, and our bodies are so smart. They know what to do, but we have to allow them to get their work done. And the first thing we're talking about, reasons people are so drained, is because of their hormones. And when hormones are imbalanced, your body thinks it's in danger, not in flow. And I wanted to talk about, first of all, cortisol, like the fire alarm hormone. When it's high all the time, your nervous system is in fight or flight. And chronic high cortisol leads to fatigue. Your adrenals are drained, anxiety, belly fat, and poor sleep because it disrupts your melatonin flow or your sleep hormone. And it's so easy to have that cortisol buildup. And we're going to give you some tools to help with that. But we have to recognize that that could be a problem. And our body's so used to being in that mode of high cortisol that it blocks your body's ability to relax, recover, and regulate your appetite. And cortisol plus melatonin are sort of opposites on a seesaw. And so they need to be balanced for your body to be able to produce that melatonin to let you have some good sleep. When cortisol spikes at night from stress, melatonin can't rise and you can't fall asleep or stay asleep. Think of it as a hormonal tug of war. You can't relax if your body thinks you're running from a tiger. We talk about a tiger a lot, don't we?
Yeah.
Insulin's the next one. And that's like your storage hormone that controls blood sugar. When your insulin is out of whack from high sugar intake, processed foods and so forth, stress, or skipping meals, you get sugar highs and energy crashes. High insulin equals stubborn body fat plus energy crashes plus cravings, especially at 3 p.m. in the afternoon. And so we want to watch out for that the hormones are balanced. And the first step we need to do, and we'll talk more about this in a little bit, is you have to recognize that could be the issue. And just let that thought flow and think about reflect on your stress, reflect on your sleep. Do you think that the cortisol and the melatonin are balanced? Just reflect on it. The second reason you could be so drained, and it goes along with the hormones, is your blood sugar roller coaster. Now, glycemic index, blood sugar, when you eat your food, there's a way to balance your food where your blood sugar goes up and stays at a nice level and keeps you satiated or happy inside for a while. And a good example of that would be, let's say, a carrot as a veg is very high in sugar, but you mix that with something like peanut butter or hummus, and the protein and the peanut butter and hummus is going to bring it down. So now you're having a lower glycemic meal. But your blood sugar has to stay controlled throughout the day to keep you alert, your body working, and not exhausted. So if you skip meals and your blood sugar drops, you're going to get some brain fog, irritability, no, not us, and fatigue. When you reach for a quick carb or coffee fix, and by a quick carb, I mean, let's think of something that's more of a starchy thing, like a muffin or pretzels or whatever. Your blood sugar is going to spike, and then it crashes harder, stealing even more energy. That crash triggers more cravings, another spike, another crash. It's like being stuck on a loop roller coaster with no seatbelt over and over again. A real life example would be start your day with coffee and maybe a muffin. You're going to get a burst of energy, your insulin surges, and your blood sugar crashes. Now it's 11 o'clock. You're hungry, you're foggy, you're craving something sweet or salty. You repeat the cycle at lunch and again at 3. Now you're feeling exhausted, maybe yawning a lot, mood swings, and frustration because you did not have a good savory breakfast. And we'll talk about that as well. But you want to look at what's going in your body to regulate that blood sugar. Now, if you're constantly on that wheel of snacks and the blood sugar going up and going down, your body is trying to fix you all the time and it doesn't know what to do. And so these insulin levels your body becomes more resilient against them. It's not really listening to it anymore because your poor insulin level doesn't know what to do. So for you to think about, okay, what am I eating? What am I doing to get my blood sugar up? And how am I balancing that throughout the day? We're a machine, we need to run. So we need fuel throughout the day. So how are we doing that? So reflecting on 2 things so far. What are our hormones doing? And what is our blood sugar doing?
And now I want to talk a little bit about stress. And that actually is connected with our hormones and everything as well. But, you know, this time in our lives, we're in our 40s, 50s, 60s, right? And we're juggling a lot. Who's got a to-do list that's like this long? Anybody else or just me? Yeah, right. You know what? This time in our lives, we're either like towards the end of our career and it may be a stressful kind of job because we've kind of peaking in our career. We're thinking about retirement, or maybe we are in retirement and that can bring on its own stressors. We may have children or even adult children that we are helping to manage, grandchildren. I read there's something like 2 million American grandparents are raising their grandchildren. So there's a lot of us out there that have gone back, become primary caregivers again. And then we're also often caring for aging parents or aging family members. So when we're managing the house and the husbands or the wives or whatever we're managing a lot. And that definitely adds to our stress level. And Laura mentioned the tiger. Our body recognizes stress, right? And releases the hormones. The adrenaline and cortisol are there so we can respond quickly. But our body doesn't know if it's a tiger or if it's just us reacting to all that we have. But when our bodies is in a constant state like that, and sometimes we don't even recognize it because that's just what we're doing. We're just juggling, but it's that fight or flight that we're in that Laura talked about it. That's your sympathetic nervous system, which is put you in fight or flight. And we also have the parasympathetic, which helps us to calm and relax. And we've got to really figure out how to manage those two so that we can have both of those working together. But with today's stressors, our bodies can overreact, thinking that these life stressors are life-threatening stressors. Our body really doesn't know, but our brain perceives it as being on alert all the time. And Chronic stress is like having that gas pedal on just constantly. And this is really, really interesting. And I didn't realize this, but when the cortisol and the adrenaline remain elevated, it puts that body in the combat mode, and it actually affects our sleep. Like Laura said, it does not allow our bodies to get that good restorative sleep when your body's been hyped up all day, unless you figure out how to bring it back down before you go to sleep. But also, I did not know this, but it also causes actual changes in the brain. And high cortisol levels over time will actually shrink your hippocampus. That is where our brain's memory and learning center is. So it's not just going to affect you on a daily basis, but that is like a long-term thing, right? When we have elevated cortisol levels, it's actually going to affect different parts of our brain, and one of it being the hippocampus. The other area that it affects is our prefrontal cortex. And that's where the executive functioning happens. That's where our decision making is. That's where our emotions lie too. And so when you're stressed and you melt, that's why, because your prefrontal cortex has gotten blasted and it can't really function properly anymore. So there's a lot to this whole stress, and more than I even realized, but it actually makes us feel scattered, anxious, and reactive rather than calm. So we are going to talk about how to help manage some of that stress. But then we have some diet and movement myths that sometimes is in our mind that we're thinking, okay, this is what I need to do, right? And one of them is I need to eat less to lose weight. And again, if we're not eating enough, then our body again gets frightened, feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be starved. I need to shut down, right? And that will often cause your metabolism to drop. And actually, it doesn't really help if you're trying to lose weight. If you reduce your food intake so low, you want to make sure you're keeping up with your protein and your fiber and your good fats. And we're going to talk about that too. Another thing is that carbs are my enemy. I hear this all the time. I don't want to eat any carbs. Well, there's different kinds of carbs. And like Laura was talking about, those muffins, those cakes, those cookies, those are highly refined carbs. That's very different from good carbs that we get from a sweet potato, those starchy kind of vegetables, which are going to give you that long, sustained kind of energy. Caffeine, an extra cup of coffee in the middle of the day might feel like a good quick boost, but that's going to, especially if you're putting sugar and stuff in it, you're going to get a quick boost and then you're going to crash. There's some movement myths that if I don't sweat, it doesn't count. Well, that's not true. And Laura will be talking more about that. Yeah, it's good to do some workouts where you're sweating, but you don't have to feel like every time you work out, you've got to work up a big sweat. What we're looking for now is for sustainable energy, right? And for living longer and healthier and all of those things. Or to think that you've got to do at least 60 minutes. I know sometimes we have it in our mind that, oh my gosh, if I don't do a full 30-minute workout, it's not worth it. But that's not true. And again, Laura's going to talk more on that. And I'm not going to go into those too much because that's her gig. But really, the idea that it's about balance. It's not thinking you have to do all or none, right? And that's really what we want to help people. And sometimes that even is going to add to your stress because you're thinking, oh my gosh, I didn't do enough exercise. We have enough stresses. We're going to help you to reduce that stress load so that you can just really start taking care of the me before the we. And what we want to give you now are the 3 E's of energy. And the 3 E's are eat, exhale, and energize. So those are the 3 E's of energy. So we're going to start with eat, and we're going to eat to fuel your bodies. And you've heard me talk before. I'm all about, and it's funny because every time Laura and I just chatted for a couple of minutes before we jumped on here, it's like every time we pick a subject that we want to do research on, we always come back and it it comes back to the same stuff, like the same stuff. It's fun. It's just funny, but
Totally.
how highly processed foods are going to steal your energy. And what we mean by highly processed foods is if it comes in a package and it has a long list of ingredients where a bunch of those ingredients you can't understand what they are, or you can't find, this is a good definition I heard the other day. If you can't find those ingredients in your kitchen, then this is a highly processed food. There's a lot of chemicals and stuff like that. What happens with highly processed foods? Very often they are the sugars, the cakes, the cookies, all that kind of stuff. Again, it's going to put you on that blood sugar roller coaster that Laura told us about. And the result is energy crashes, brain fog, the whole thing. Inflammation nation, highly processed foods full of additives, trans fats, refined oils, they all trigger inflammation, and inflammation equals a tired body and a foggy brain. Our bodies are not designed to be able to process all of that kind of food on a regular basis. Not to say that you can never have that, but when that's a regular part of your diet, our bodies are not designed to be able to function well on that. Also, there's low nutrient value. There may be calories in those goodies, right? But there's not many nutrients. There's no antioxidants. There's no minerals. There's none of that good stuff that our body really needs. And then also, highly processed foods really disrupt what's going on in your gut. And we know now more than ever how important that gut microbiome is for our brain health, how important it is just for being able to process foods and get out all the good stuff that you need. So for steady energy, you want to eat whole foods, fruits, vegetables, lean proteins, legumes, beans, whole grains, like as much of that as you possibly can. And if the bulk of your diet, let's say 80% of your diet, is really just those whole foods and you splatter in a few treats and stuff, then you'll be fine. But the average American is eating 50 to 60% of their diet that highly processed foods. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Whole foods are loaded with your vitamins, your B vitamins, which is good for your brain power, magnesium for your muscles, iron for your oxygen. I promote, so does Laura promote. We should also have a good multivitamin, multi-mineral, but you also need to just get as many of those nutrients as you can from your food. Omega-3s in your fish, fiber in your beans, antioxidants in the berries. Those are all brain boosters. That's all good brain boosting food. And then gut health support. The more variety of plant foods that you can eat, the happier your gut microbiome is. All of that bacteria thrives on fiber, and you get that from fruits and vegetables and a variety. I love to promote, try to eat 30 different plant foods throughout the week. And it sounds tough, but once you do, it's really not that tough. And it's really a good thing to strive for. And it really will help to keep your gut happy for better digestion and more energy for you. And when you're filling your plate, think about making 3/4 of the plate plants, fruits, vegetables, grains, and then 1/4 of the plant lean protein. And you'll be doing good. That is a really healthy way to eat. And let's face it, very often an average American meal, it's at least 50% meat, right? With a little tiny pile of peas and some potatoes or something, right? That is kind of like a very typical kind of plate of food. Snacks always combine your protein with your fiber, which Laura alluded to. Instead of grabbing that Snicker bar or something, grab the carrots with hummus, an apple with peanut butter or almond butter, Greek yogurt with berries. Greek yogurt, which I didn't realize, has a whole lot more protein. And there's 15 to 20 grams of protein in a serving of Greek yogurt, which is a nice amount of protein for a snack. Throw in a few berries, maybe sprinkle on a little brown flaxseed, and you've got a power-packed fiber and protein-rich snack. And if you want more ideas on snacks, just reach out to me because I can help you figure out some really healthy snacks to enjoy that combine that fiber with that protein. Okay, Laura.
And nuts, they're all plant foods,
Yep. Yep.
which
That's a
many
really
people
good
don't
point.
realize. Oh, I can have nuts. Yeah, it's all so in that when you guys are looking at your, and I'm going to do that this week. It'll be fun. I know I get it supplement wise, but I'm going to try go for the 30 variety of 30 real things. And of course, down here it's also hard to get things shipped in that have any nutrients left in them. But I love that idea. The eating, the plate is a. I want to thank you for bringing that up again, Darely, because I think we often the plate of food. I don't know how many of you eat standing up or walking to the car or in the car, but to be mindful, and Darely, you're always talking about being mindful eating, but just being mindful of sitting down, looking at your food and what nutrients are you putting in your body, and just to take a pause, because it's so easy if you're used to nibbling things and grabbing stuff. It's after you've eaten it, you're going, oh my gosh, I didn't realize I just gulped
Ate
a
that
bag of
much.
chips. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Well, the second E, which, dearly, I must say, this second E has become super important in the world right now, because people realize are starting to come out and just say, oh, something as simple as this. And we realize that this is so simple, and they don't even teach kids this in school. They never taught me this in school. They don't teach it to grown-ups unless you're now going to be part of it. But the second E is exhale. And the power of breathing. They don't teach us, like I said, don't teach us. The only thing they taught me as a child was stop, Laura, count to 5. And that let me breathe, deal with whatever I was angry about at age 5, and then go. And in theory, that was a great thing my mom did, because it was teaching us to stop, pause. And the power of the pause will help us in so many ways with our self-care. So exhaling isn't just about breathing, it's about signaling to your nervous system that the threat is over. It's the physical and mental pause that helps your body shift from survival to safety. And I thought I'd just share a few things, and I know you want to share something too, Darely. We hear all these things about our parasympathetic nervous system and so forth, but this activates your exhale, activates your parasympathetic nervous system. The long, slow exhale is a biological signal of safety. And as we were talking before, Darely, this is all about biology. Our body wants to take care of itself. We just need to put the self-care in here. It triggers your vagus nerve, which slows your heart rate, lowers your blood pressure, and calms the mind. Research shows that slow breathing reduces anxiety and cortisol in as little as 60 seconds, you guys. 60 seconds. And before I talk about a practical way to do that, do you have anything else to share, Darely? I was going to do the box breathing.
Go ahead and do the box breathing, and then I have something to share. Has to do with that giant to-do list we have.
Oh, good. So practical way, and we've talked about this before with some of you, but 60 seconds is not very long. So we're going to do this together, but it's called box breathing. And we'll do that one. You can also do right before you, another little practical way is right before you eat every meal, take a breath. Just inhale and exhale slowly 3 times before you have your meal. Get yourself ready to enjoy your meal. Exhale before you respond to a stressful email or conversation. That's like the counting to 5 thing. Or set a timer 3 times a day for a 1 minute of nothing but breathing. And you know, it's I don't have time for that. We do have time for that. So box breathing, and I know most of you know what it is. I like doing it in the 4-second count, but it's literally you're inhaling for 4 seconds, you're holding it for 4 seconds, you exhale for 4 seconds, and you hold it for 4 seconds. And what I'd love to have you do is just think of your state at the moment. Like right now, I can feel tension in my shoulders. I'm sitting in a high chair, my feet are out on the ground, so I'm not grounded. So I'm gonna put my feet on the ground. And I'm gonna inhale for 4. Get through with me. Janice, I know you're good at this. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it. Exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it. Jody, I'm going to do it again. Let's do it together. Inhale. Hold it. Exhale. Hold it. And that's not even a minute. And I can always, well, for me, I can already feel, just the breathing through my shoulders. But the power of taking a breath and exhaling so your body can go into that balance is huge. And that fight or flight, I found some information. I see if I can pronounce it first. But when we're constantly stressed, the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, the HPA, goes into overdrive. So once again, with the exhale, partnered up with intentional pauses, mindfulness, and rest, it helps recalibrate this system so you don't stay stuck in fight or flight. So all this has to do with self-care, you guys. We're not even done yet. Self-care, self-care. It's just like you pay to go get your feet done, for heaven's sakes. It doesn't cost you anything, just to take a couple deep breaths a couple times a day. Especially dealing before something you don't want to do. I don't know if any of you do the hard stuff first in the morning, but you don't want to do this. Take a big breath. Change your perception of what you're doing. Be thankful that you're taking care of your brain, and then get busy.
That is great, Laura. Yeah, and I love the idea of setting a timer. And I have timers that go off at different times of the day, and one goes off at 1 o'clock every day to remind me to reflect on what I'm thankful for. And so different, just to put in a few timers to remember to stop and breathe. Like you said, just for a minute, you could do two of those box breathings. But I want to talk about that giant to-do list that causes many of us a lot of stress, right? And this is something that I learned from a very good friend of mine, and it's called a brain dump. And what you want to do is just set yourself a timer, maybe 5 minutes, 8 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever is a comfortable amount of time for yourself. But set a timer, get a blank piece of paper, and then just start writing down all the things you can think of that you need to do. And it's just like to just get it all out of your brain, even if it's something really simple, like you make a grocery list or strip the beds, or maybe it's a big project like paint the living room. It doesn't matter, whatever it is, just all these millions of things that you've got on your mind, just write them all down. And then when that timer goes off, you go back and you look at that list and you pick your priority for the day. Maybe it's 3 things, 4 things. I wouldn't pick more than 5 things, right, that are really priority that you need to do for the day. And then maybe, something like painting the living room, whatever. Okay, yeah, I don't have to think about that now. I'm going to do that in September when it gets cool or whatever, right? And just maybe you can put a few of those things on your calendar. Well, now you don't have like a million things racing around your head. You know what those priorities are that you want to get done today. Maybe you put a couple of them on your list for tomorrow, that kind of thing. But I'll tell you, that helps a whole lot. I know, Laura, you've done that as well. And just because stress is such a big part of why you might not be sleeping well, if that's a challenge for you, try journaling at night. Just try writing down everything that went on during the day, or things that you're worried about, or things that you're grateful for. Whatever it is, a journal can be whatever you want it to be, but that can be a really good thing to do just before going to bed, because again, it's going to help to empty out your brain, so then you can try to just get to bed when you're ready to relax. And then I'm sure you have heard this before: cut out the screen time at least an hour before you're ready to go to sleep. It really does make a big difference. Maybe put on some quiet music, maybe read a book. Reading a book always helps me go to sleep if I read something, just a nice relaxing book, or have a cup of gentle herbal tea, or use some lavender and put it on yourself. There's some things you can do. If sleep is an issue, you can reach out to either one of us. We could help you with that as well. But because stress is such a big part of why we're wired and why we're then exhausted because we're not getting the sleep.
Well, the sleep is huge.
Yeah.
And go down the rabbit hole of that many different directions. But what I think is super interesting right now is you're watching some of the people that I've admired for years with that are in the medical field, Dr. Barbara O'Neill, that now coming out and with more and more freedom of speaking of why naturals can help, why traditional Chinese medicine is so important. It's all coming out, and they're all saying the same thing. It all has to do with how our body as a unit is functioning. And on that note, before I get on to movement, I do want to share with traditional Chinese medicine, which my sister-in-law is a doctor in, one thing I really learned from her, which I think I try to remind myself. In traditional Chinese medicine, your body is a unit. And so it's how the whole body is functioning together. Whereas in Western medicine, it's either a liver or it's a heart or it's the lungs, whereas they don't think organs in traditional Chinese medicine. It's all, why is the whole system not functioning properly? And I beg you just to think about that when you are your own doctor. So while you're asking yourself, why am I feeling this? Why do I don't have any energy? We're giving you some things to question yourself on tonight and ways of helping you in those areas. But do spend time asking yourself. And that journalizing that Darrell Lee was talking about, even if you rate your days on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 means I have no energy, I can go back in bed right now and sleep for the rest of the day. And maybe 5 is like, I'm ready to rock and roll and I can be buzzing around doing 1,000 errands. Just start gauging what kind of day you're having. So as you make some of these changes, you're able to go, man, my whole week was a 4 or 5. I wonder if getting that 9 hours of sleep is helping, or 7 hours, which is sort of like the minimum. But also movement, which is our third E. And it's not only just for your body, it's for your brain. And it's not just about burning calories. It's about regulating your blood sugar, improving your mood, boosting brain health, and resetting your hormone rhythms. And I want to say that word rhythm one more time, and now go back to what we talked about before. All those areas we talked about: hormones, blood sugar regulation, stress load, diet and movement myths. They're all rhythms we can get your life into a rhythm of good health, of getting moving, of eating well. And your body's going to start to flow with that rhythm. So I think this is another great word to use here. So there is the science of movement as a medicine. We've talked before about the brain cocktail just by you moving for 10 minutes. And you'll find research that says for 60 seconds, 90 seconds, that's all it takes. It gets the brain hormones cranking, your dopamine, serotonin, endorphins. You start to feel good. You start to have better focus. Your creativity starts to go wild. All this can happen when you're just moving up and down, getting up out of the chair for 90 seconds. So we know we've talked about that, but it's also how important that there's a growth that movement actually can boost what they call it BDNF hormone. It's a growth hormone that protects and regenerate your brain cells. So who would not want to regenerate brain cells? And it improves memory, mood, energy, especially important for women in perimenopause or menopause, that whole big journey. It's now more important than ever. And Darrell Lee and I say women over 40. Well, I know some women have gone through the whole menopausal thing in their 30, but we're really talking about as we mature as females, there's a lot of stuff happening in our bodies. And one of our friends talks about menopause as being an upgrade. Yep. Once you've gone through it, now you're an upgrade. So all these things that are happening to you. So as our bodies are changing, we need to keep ourselves as healthy as possible if you want the results at the end of the train. If you want to be able to squat down and tie your shoes, tie your little kids' shoes. If you want to play with your grandchildren, play with any children. If you want to be able to carry the groceries, it's all about independence. Do you want to be able to sit on the toilet by yourself and get up and feed yourself? All these things. We want to be independent. We want to be healthy. And movement is medicine, and it's something, it's really a non-negotiable. Movement's also going to stabilize your blood sugar, reduce insulin resilience. Even short walks after your meals improve glucose control and reduce insulin spikes. So especially for diabetics and so forth, or if you're just trying to lower your blood sugar, you're trying to lose some weight, you just move around 10 minutes after you eat. That's going to help. But it's also going to be very key for managing your fatigue, your weight gain, and your brain fog. We just talked about the brain cocktail of the dopamine, serotonin, endorphins. A brisk walk is all it takes. You can elevate your mood and reduce your anxiety. Better than a sugary snack or coffee. So, how to energize your movement? Well, 10 to 15-minute walk after your meals. Definitely get resistance training in. 15 minutes. And on our Facebook page, you can find it there all the time, even less than 15 minutes taking care of all your major muscle groups and strength training. You need that muscle mass to be working with you. Doesn't mean you want to be a bodybuilder. Strength training means you're taking your muscle mass and you're sort of saying, here, your muscle fibers. My fingers are muscle fibers. I'm going to work them, let's say, in a bicep curl. I break down the muscle fibers because I got to oh my gosh, I did 10 repetitions. That was hard. Even when I did a second time, I did it. It was manageable, but I don't think I can do a third set. It's going to break down those muscle fibers. They're going to grow back even stronger and leaner, and your body's going to be efficiently burning calories for you and metabolizing. Dance breaks. Seriously, it works. Putting on some music, getting out there, doing a little dance, and bonus. We know we have strength training, cardio. We also have all the neuro movement you can do. So say you're doing a dance routine, that's going to help your brain cells and help your health as well. So putting it together dance routine, chair squats, marching in place, gentle yoga in between your tasks. That's moving. Yoga moves. The concept of yoga is you get yourself in a body posture and you hold it and you breathe. You get yourself in, so you are moving, and you can do strength training with yoga. Pilates is another one. Pilates is when you get yourself, let's say, imagine you're lying on the floor, contracting your core, and you're going to lower one leg at a time, sort of taxing or working the core to have to stay controlled. That's Pilates. So all these little things help. So the movement isn't optional. It's your way of staying energized, balanced, and brain healthy. And now more than ever, because I know Darrell and I are jumping on the next subject soon with how we can slow Alzheimer's and dementia down. And it all starts here. We've got the 3 E's: the eat to fuel, the exhale to reset, and the energize with your movement.
And that is our subject material for tonight. Before we wrap up, does anybody have any questions that you'd like to ask?
If no one has any questions.
Yeah, if nobody has any questions, what we really would love to do is offer to jump on a call, and it is just information gathering, information sharing. I put it in the chat. Maybe we can help you make just 1 or 2 little tweaks during your week that could make you a little more energized, a little less lethargic. If there's a specific area that is causing you more stress, we can help you just kind of figure it out. Sometimes you just need a third person looking in what's going on and say, hey, look, just try this. And Laura and I are both huge proponents of making little tiny steps towards a bigger goal. Because if we tell you to completely throw out all your food and just eat whole organic food and walk 30 minutes a day and stretch and do yoga and all of these all at once, you're going to be like, oh, I can't do that. No, that's not what we do. And we start with just a couple of little things. And that once that becomes habit, okay, then we're going to add something else, and then we're going to add something else. And that's how habits stick. And that's what makes it just become a part of who you are and what you do. I just want to share that I went on a journey to lose weight, and I've lost 50 pounds. I've kept it off for it's been a year and a half already. I can't believe it. And I used to have a lot of back trouble, but I do this, just a simple stretching that I do most every morning. But I'll tell you, I can tell if I haven't done it for 2 or 3 days, all of a sudden I'm like, oh yeah, you know what? That little twinge back there. Yep. I got to make sure I get down on. I set a timer for 10 minutes and I just stretch, and I do some stretching and some balance work. But it's just 10 minutes, but it makes such a difference in how my overall body feels. So it can be something as simple as a little tiny routine that just becomes a part of what you do.
Well, it's all part of they fit it in their plan, but it'd be so nice if it was like, now I get to go to yoga. Now I get to, put on music while I put away the laundry,
Right.
which, yeah, that's my thing. It's one thing to clean it and fold it, man, to put it away. I need music to get that done. Anyhow, what fun is this? Thank you all you guys for coming tonight. Appreciate it.
Thanks for all your information.
Oh, you're
Let's see how
welcome.
much we can incorporate each day.
That's
right?
it. Yep. Just pick one of those things and start. And once you have that down for a week, add another one and add that. And I just have a question. How many people on this, and you can raise your hands, are interested in how to reduce your risk of getting Alzheimer's or dementia? Is
Oh,
that
yeah.
a concern for people? Okay, yeah, we thought that was a concern. So that'll be our next masterclass in about 2 weeks, right, Laura?
Yeah, no, it's so interesting is that I've been doing some surveying, asking people. And, one person said to me, and I think I even showed earlier, they're like, well, people in their 30s aren't worried about this. And I'm thinking, I don't know. I'm watching a lot more social media come out now about all this, and it's not just worry about their parents. It's people are reflecting now on how do I want to live my life and because they can see what other people are doing and what does slow down mean? And I think it's dearly our favorite. We love saying the me before the we, and I do that with work, you guys. My staff, I'm like, I have to get my walk in and then I can deal with everything else. And I got to do the me before the we. And the other thing is for us to remember how good we feel when we are in rhythm. And if you can remember how you felt at certain times of your life where it was a memorable experience and you were so happy and felt good because, let's get back there.
Yeah, the rates of early onset dementia have increased by 20%. That's scary. That is scary. All right, ladies, we don't want to keep you, but thank you so much. And
Thank
we'll see
you.
guys soon. Bye-bye now.
Thanks, guys.
Thank
So
you
long.
very much.